In this episode, I'm here with Tom Hatton, the founder and CEO of Mountainside Fitness. Tom founded his business in 1991, and there are now 16 locations with 84,000 paying members. He's been featured in Club Industry, the Phoenix Business Journal, Club Solutions Magazine, and many more. And in this episode, we cover how he set up his pricing and processes to generate $750,000 more per month without adding additional members. Growing a small business isn't easy, and to be successful, we know three things for sure. You have to work hard, you have to be bold, and you must constantly learn. We're gathering some of the best minds in the business world to share their ideas and strategies with you so you can grow your business easier, be more profitable, and have a lot more fun being a business owner. We're on a mission to connect the world of wellness, and this is the Mind, Body, Bold Show. All right, guys, so I am here with Mr. Tom Hatton, the founder and CEO of the gym that I actually go to, Mountainside Fitness. Tom, welcome to the Mind, Body, Bold Show.
Thanks for having me.
Are you ready to be bold?
I'm ready.
All right, so there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about because I've gotten a chance to sit down with you before, and you are a wealth of knowledge. You've had a tremendous amount of coaching and great networks that have had mentors really guide you along your path, and you've been at this game now for how long?
27 years.
27 years. Yeah. Learned a lot along the way, had a lot of failures along the way,
Yep.
but you've persevered through and built probably the most successful fitness franchise out here in Arizona, at least what I see, because it's everywhere, and you've grown really, really fast. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you look at as a CEO, the numbers, the metrics. We're also going to talk about some of the biggest life lessons that you've learned, and we're going to talk about how you look at a member in regards to what you initially want to deliver to them as a service, but how you can continue to deliver value from them and increase the revenue to your business along the way. Is that cool?
You bet.
All right. So first, you've been running this fitness business now for, was it 27 years?
27 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 27 years, you got 84,000 paying members. How many locations do you have?
16.
16. So what's the numbers on that? And I know you just opened up a few, so some of them have less than others, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the exception of the ones that just opened within the last 6 months or year, what's the average center hold?
About 5,500 members.
5,500 members. And what's the average square footage?
About 40,000 feet.
40,000 feet. Okay. Now, when you first started, it wasn't a 40,000 foot gym,
No,
was it?
No.
Okay.
5,000 feet.
5,000 feet.
Yeah.
So a little smaller,
Yeah.
a lot smaller. And so let's talk about what made you start this business. Was it Mountainside Fitness when you first started?
No, that's a great question. It was actually Mountainside Gym.
Mountainside Gym.
And the reason it was called Mountainside is because the first gym was located in Mountainside Plaza in Ahwatukee, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a small one. It was 5,000 feet.
Okay, you started it, and how many gyms did you own before this?
None.
No experience?
None.
Okay, so a lot of people watching and listening can relate, and now they go, okay, cool, this guy's done it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do it too. So started with no experience, but you've had mentors along the way, correct?
Yeah,
what would you say some of the mentors, the best mentors have taught you along the way, biggest lessons?
I think one of the biggest one I learned about 10 years in, which was to focus on revenue inside the building. So growing the revenue and maximizing the revenue inside your box. Don't look at growth, more boxes to increase revenue. Make sure that you've done everything you can inside the box you have now.
Okay.
And then move on.
So
that was really good advice.
With that model, it's kind of like getting people in with the burger and selling the fries and the shake
absolutely.
in order to sell more to the people that you know want more of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So give me an example of what's your burger in this analogy, and what's the fries and the shake? What are the other things that you can sell to them?
Well, certainly the burger is the actual fitness center to come on in and do that. So then you start to look at the fries and the shake is whether it's childcare, certainly executive lockers, is something how we sell in our pro shop, meaning not only clothes but then the cafe, so shakes and stuff like that, literally shakes, and then we go on to personal training. So we want to have different items inside the building that can attract everybody to do something else other than just paying your membership, and then it creates more loyalty to the brand, anyways.
Now I think your average membership's like around $44 you had mentioned,
yes.
right? But you said that excluding the personal training, your average member actually pays $53.
That's about right, yes.
Right? And so that's a $9 a month difference, positive difference per member, times 84,000 members, you're looking at $750,000 more per month without adding any more members, just using what you already have.
You bet. We look at an interesting metric. We did this, started a long time ago, which is how low can we have our ratio of membership to total gross revenue. Okay. So in some fitness centers, their total gross revenue, the membership side of that could be as high as 80%. Okay, we want it low. We want it in the 55s and the 60% because that takes less pressure on just generating memberships to create your revenue. We start to look inside the box and say, how can we add more value to it? And that's one of the big things that's made us successful over the years, is saying we can do this inside the box and not have to worry about a member coming in.
Right. Yeah. Now, a lot of fitness studio owners and small business owners in general, I don't care if it's a salon or a tanning salon, a hair salon, fitness, massage, I think a lot of business owners that are really just kind of starting out, first 5-10 years in, they have hesitations with upselling their existing customers. Yeah. They almost feel like it's greedy or it's asking for too much. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it can be feeling like you're invasive, right? Or less sincere to what that person wants. I think it's a real skill level to say, okay, I'm going to upsell you because we're going to create value with that upsell. And these are all the different things that can help create the value. If you understand that as a salesperson and you sell it sincerely, it takes a little bit of that feeling away, like I'm just pushing you into something rather than guiding you into something else that'll help you in your fitness goals.
Right. You know, the funny thing is too, there's a ton of marketing research out there that shows that if your customer can buy 2 or more things from you outside of the original purchase, they're more likely to become a loyal member. So the funny thing is, by selling them more things, you get to keep them for longer.
Yes.
And the person that you keep for longer is the person that buys more things.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a perfect cycle?
It is a perfect cycle. Exactly true in it too. We want to create loyalty to all the things that we offer inside the building and make sure that we have done the best that we can in those offerings. Don't just have it there. If you're going to have it there, make it really good in each segment that we do.
Now, you have certain metrics that you look at as a CEO in order to make really sometimes tough decisions within the business that it's sometimes even let people down, right? In one case, you had a basketball court, full court basketball court in pretty much every center, right?
That's correct.
And you noticed through the numbers and through trends, which is, I believe, 2 things CEOs should always be paying attention to, that it would be a better decision to cut the full court into a half court to open up some other spaces and also change the demographic a little bit of your member.
Yes.
So tell me more about that and what you noticed and what changes you've made and what you've seen.
Well, what we started to see, starting probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago, was a shift in the functional fitness inside a health club. So it's from the static weight stack equipment to just the free weights. Those are your kind of 2 worlds. That the functional areas, whether it's the box jumps, whether it's just the balls, slams, pull-ups,
sleds,
stuff like sleds, you bet. All those types of things on top of more core fit, CrossFit type of mentality in the way we deliver workouts of the day, stuff like that. And that's where the world was kind of heading. So we really decided to say, okay, what was more, I'm trying to think of the word, progressive, keeping a basketball court, a full court, or cutting it in half and open up the space for another 2,500 feet to do more functional training.
Right.
When we made that decision, it was hard because we knew we would anger some of the members.
Did you?
We did. Yeah. But keeping the half court still saved that. But the excitement and the growth inside Mountainside because of that area was tenfold. And the ironic part is in that growth, 60% of that area is used by women.
Really?
Yeah.
So you actually, and I'm assuming you probably got more families in as opposed to with basketball. When I went in there, it seemed like the demographic was a younger crowd,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Probably less family-oriented crowd.
Great.
Okay, so now you lost probably a few members from it, but in the net of it all, I last talked to you 11 months ago. You had 70,000 members. Now you have 84,000 members. So even though you may have lost certain members, you've actually gained net more members.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we did a really good job of being out in front of the changes to the members because we do have a few clubs that have full courts still. And we would actually map it out and say, okay, if you decide to leave us to go to another company club that has a full court. Let me just show you what the distance is right here. And then they go, wow, we didn't realize that. And then they would just go to the other Mountainside that has full court. So I think we got in front of that one a little bit, but sometimes you've got to, clip a weed to grow a lawn. Yeah. And that's kind of the way we looked at it.
I've noticed a lot of the best CEOs and business owners do that, where they have to make tough decisions that, unfortunately are going to let down sometimes a good percentage of their customers, but it's in full effort in order to create, to fulfill the vision of what type of business you want to run and to please the majority of members and grow the business better. And I think a lot of business owners that aren't really at that level, they're always trying to find a way to please everyone.
Yeah, you can't.
And you can't, right? I can't remember who it said, but it said if you try to please everyone, the only person that will be unpleased is yourself, right? Yeah. So now you've had a few failures along the way. What are a couple failures that you feel comfortable talking about that you've learned from, and what did you learn from them?
Well, I think early on in my career, I didn't understand, I never had really any formal business training. I came out of college my beginning of my junior year and hadn't gotten into the business side yet. So I was really learning on the job, and I think early on, not understanding the balance sheet and the income statement and some of the line items and what they were saying, because I always believe numbers talk to you. You just got to make sure you're listening. So early on, I think I didn't really understand that as much. I understood people, I certainly understood fitness, but understanding the numbers took a little bit longer and what that was meaning on both sides. So I think that slowed our growth down a little bit. And then the second one was growing faster than our capabilities were. So the opportunities were there, and being an entrepreneur, sometimes it's a curse that you always want to take advantage of the opportunities. Right. I think we would have been a little bit smarter of a company to not do those opportunities and just concentrate on the brand and how we can make sure that we're doing the best we can in the brand, then grow. Okay. We caught ourselves. We caught up to it. I think those were the two big lessons that over my career that have stuck with me.
Now there's something that I've also noticed as a trend with people that have as many employees. How many employees do you have right now?
1,200.
1,200 employees,
yes.
Right? So when you have that many employees, first off, when you have 3 employees, it's hard to really manage all the different characters already, even with just 3, right? Different personalities, different goals, different skill sets and life experiences. When you have 1,200, it means you've probably gotten pretty good at that part, at least well enough to be able to manage that. So let's talk about people for a second. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in regards to people and developing a great culture? Because every time I go into the gym, people are really nice, they're friendly, they work hard, and it seems like everybody owns their role in the business. I literally watch people looking at the monitors and walking over and picking stuff up on the way, and you're not there. So what are some of the biggest lessons you learned in regards to people and culture development?
I think that was the one thing we really nailed coming out of the gate. Is it was just I was so raw in coming in that it was hard for me to expect anybody to do a whole lot more, because I was learning too. So I felt like we all just needed to learn together, and that putting ourselves out in front would help lead the way until experience followed. And I think that's always stuck with us, in that, people, we're a collective, 84,000 members in 16 locations, a collective of all the 1,200 people that are currently working for us that believe in the same things. And it makes it easier for them to do their jobs. I don't think we put a pressure-packed environment in front of them. I put a fun environment in front of them and try to make sure that they enjoy their jobs and understand what our goal is as a company. And certainly is to make sure everybody feels comfortable when they walk in the club. That's the number one thing.
Yeah. When you have this many employees, you've had a lot of awesome experiences where you've gotten to hire people, which is great. It's nothing more fun than hiring people, right? Putting the hand out and shaking their hand and saying, welcome aboard.
You bet.
But you've probably had to fire quite a few people as well,
you bet.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some small businesses are really quick to hire, and then they take sometimes too long to fire. What are some of the things that you look at as far as metrics or signs to where it's time to let it go and let this person move away from the brand?
Right. Well, I'll look at first is just their engagement. You can kind of tell sometimes, depending on, even doesn't matter what department it is, what is their level of engagement? At some point it was probably here, and now it might be down here. So the first question is why? Is it something that we're not communicating to you? Is there something happening in your own personal life that is affecting it? But let's try to understand why and correct it, because I need you here. I think if as we've grown as a company, we've really tried to make sure that the expectations of the job are very clear when you come on. So even though I might have fired somebody, truly they have fired themselves.
Right.
It would be my job to make sure that they understood why along the way and said, okay, we're just not getting there and we just need to move on. And I just think that's made those days a little bit easier because it was clear to the individual that would be leaving.
Now, what about the leaders in your organization? 'Cause you probably have, I would say, 50 people in leadership positions, maybe more.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate. Yeah,
probably about 50 people in leadership. So those people, are they measured? Do you have certain metrics that they're responsible for hitting, and they're clear on what those are as well?
Absolutely. It depends on the department, but for example, a club manager, it certainly is going to manage the top line revenue inside their club, and we want them to grow the revenue. But a close second is how the club looks and feels. Mm-hmm. So even though this particular manager could be really killing it as far as how we're growing the memberships, and the place is dirty and not getting repairs, or I have equipment down and they're not communicating, they're not a good manager for me. They need to do both. And I think that's part of the expectation levels because they are so hand in hand into our brand in doing that.
Do you like to promote leadership from within, or do you like external?
I'm huge from within.
Within?
Yeah, I think once they, and I'll go back to my roots again. I didn't know anything starting in, and certainly learned along the way. And you can't teach good personalities to people that care. I think that's just, you're just born with it. Mm-hmm. And when we identify somebody that has those characteristics, that wants to grow inside the company and learn, we open up the floodgates and say, okay, let's just see where you can go. And we've had probably our greatest successes with people coming up the ranks. Absolutely.
So with small businesses, I've noticed a lot of them, if you're in massage, I'm talking about the beginning, right? People that are starting first 5 years, maybe 10 years in business. If you're a massage therapist, you think the answer is get better at massage, be the best at massage. If I can learn 12 different types of massage, now I know hot stone, I know Swedish. If I know more than everyone else, I'm the obvious choice. Same thing with the hairstylist, same thing with the personal trainer. If I know how to help this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, I've got to be the obvious choice, right? But then we look at it, and some of the people that are way far ahead of the game go, there's people that know a fifth of what you know as a whole, but are crushing you, because they have a really good attention to marketing and sales and focusing on maybe one or two really great things. So for you, what's your attention to marketing and sales, and what's your one or two things that you really like the community to know about your company?
Well, I think it's really good. You know, I pick 5 things and do them really well.
Okay.
Right, like you just said, instead of 15 and announce those but not do any of them really well.
Right.
So we look at that very hard and say, this is who we are, and we understand who we are. So how do we explain that to the world in like 3 words?
Right.
You know, and I think it's really important for us to be able to do that. And we look at, first of all, the progressive nature of the club. What are we doing? Do you get the advantage of a studio atmosphere inside of Mountainside as well? Mm-hmm. Do you get the flexibility of the child care that you might not get, and the amenities in the child care? Certainly in the locker rooms, does it feel like a country club or a boys' locker room from high school, right? We want to make sure it feels more like a country club and really nice, that you feel like what you're getting for your money is, you're certainly there in the value. Right. And then from there, the equipment and how we lay it all out and make sure the environment is comfortable for everybody. And we just try to, and certainly then we wrap it all in with being friendly, and push that all out there in all of our marketing campaigns in one facet or another, depending on who we're going after.
How many like avenues of marketing would you say you have in order to get your message out?
It's funny, more now than we used to ever. And we spend less now than we used to.
Really? So you're more efficient now. You've learned what works the best.
And the digital world changed the game. You
Sure.
know, we do very little print marketing. We do some billboard advertising, but most of our marketing now is done in the digital world.
Such as?
Well, certainly you could talk about, you know, email campaigns and different things where we GPS locate. I mean, we'll locate it if you bought a tennis racket. We know you like tennis or fitness in that kind of manner, and we will find you and we will deliver an ad to you. Depending on it, and it gets scarier from that. We can geolocate in a lot of different ways that are just amazing these days. And then you'll have Facebook campaigns and stuff like that that just kind of further the community feel of Mountainside, and we put those all together in very strategic ways to make sure that we're effective in our marketing campaigns. And we don't spend as much as we used to.
Yeah.
Locations help.
Now, even though you don't spend as much as you used to, you still spend a decent amount.
Yes, we do.
Right? And now marketing doesn't make sales. marketing generates opportunities for your sales team to make sales, right? I think a lot of people miss the boat on that. Yeah. They think they need to sell in their marketing, but really the only thing you need to sell is just come in. Just come in and check it out, right? And the more people you can get in of the right nature, right? The more you can get in, the better. But when it comes to your sales team now, what kind of an emphasis do you have on sales in your organization, in regards to like how often you follow up, and is there a process, or does everybody kind of wing it? Is there training involved?
Yes. Well, we always think the marketing is going to create opportunities. That's its job to do. We want to create the interest level. So when it comes in, how do we serve that interest level when you walk in the building? Do I attack you? Absolutely not. We don't want to do that. We want to listen. You do the talking, I'm going to do the listening, and I'm going to try to answer your specific questions along the way. We definitely do a lot of training. We have what's called Mountainside 101, and we cycle all of our salespeople through those multiple times a year.
So there's a training program for your salespeople before they can start selling.
Absolutely. Okay. They have to go through Mountainside University to do that, and so they understand the basics of what we're expecting in a sales presentation, which is very little sales and a lot of listening. We'll explain what our numbers are and those kind of things at the end, but we certainly just want to understand what Mike wants when he walks in the building, and talk about that and show you what we offer in that mentality.
You say very little sales and a lot of listening, but the funny thing is, when I hear that, I hear a lot of sales and very little talking, right? Because I think what most people do is they think they're doing a lot of sales, but they're really just doing a lot of talking, and they're actually doing this much or no selling because they're unselling it all. Because you can't learn and talk at the same time. Just can't, because you already know what's going on in here. So, but if you can ask the right questions and you can extract the right information, you could tailor the few things that you do say to actually mean something to that individual. And that is 100% selling to me.
You're exactly right on the money on it. And our salespeople have an opportunity to get to know somebody on a tour, and that's the way we look at it. So if I can bond with you in a 5 to 10 minute tour, we come from the same place, or our kids are the same age, or man, I tore my ankle up playing basketball just like you did. And all of a sudden there's just a different mentality. The guard's down. Now I'm going to listen differently. I'm going to remember Mike when he comes back in if he's on a 5-day guest pass. And the sale becomes easy at that point, and especially with the amenities and things that we offer. But we bonded, and that matters to the loyalty and the joining.
So for the people out there that just started their business, let's say within the last few years, and they're not as profitable as they need to be yet, some of them may not be profitable at all, what are 1 or 2 things that you think, focus on this right now? You're in the beginning of it all, focus on this. And I know it probably depends on what they need. Everyone's got their different weaknesses, but what are the 1 or 2 things in the very early stages somebody needs to get really great at?
Well, I think, that's an interesting question, because it could be in so many different ways.
Depending on that person.
I always just think it's important to know who you are, and I mean that as a business. And once you really understand that, not as much concern is put on what the competition's doing, is going, okay, if I'm X, am I doing everything that I can to make sure that X stands out? Are we clean enough? Are we having the right amount of offerings? Is our pricing model accurate to what we deliver? And some of those type of things. Do we have enough staff? Can I service you the way you would like when you come in the building? Am I too worried about having an extra staff on, and that's affecting the way the business grows? I mean, there's a lot of different, I call them levers, inside to go, okay, are we making sure they're all in the same spot where they're supposed to be?
That's awesome. Well, Tom, I know you're a super busy guy, and I 100% appreciate you coming down and sharing this with us. You've probably been one of the more successful people in regards to total members that have paid to have your service than anybody we've had on the show. And so everything you said means a lot. For everybody listening, for everybody watching, thanks so much, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you like this episode, then subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. You can get all the links by going to boldshow.com. Thanks, and see you next time.